Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Sean Keenan. I'm an amateur photographer. I have zero training. I've never gone to school, I've never taken a class, I've never joined a workshop. Everything that I've learned from photography has been through trial and error and the occasional YouTube video. I liken myself to a musician who doesn't read sheet music. I'm just a very intuitive photographer. And I think that intuition and that experience can take me only so far. And you need to develop techniques and understand the theory behind photography to really take your photography to the next level. And one of those things that I think I want to focus on more now as I move forward. Elements of composition in no particular order: texture, lines, color, space, points, patterns, distance, balance, shapes, tone, and most important to me, light. The element of photography that I focus on the most and that is what gets me to turn my eye to a subject is the light. Now, in this episode, I want to focus on the elements of photography that I tried to think about while I was taking the photos. And I don't have the time, nor do you, to sit down and let me talk about all 10 elements for each photograph. So I'm going to focus on a few elements that I think really help make the composition work. I really didn't want to wake up this morning. Hopefully the sunrise is worth it because, man, I'm tired. It's 20 past 2 in the morning, and I've got about a 45-minute drive up to Biei, where sunrise is due at about 4:40 this morning, and I don't have a plan, and I'm 100% in for discovery today. There is one place that I've been before that I'd like to stop by again, and that place is called Biei. It's a blue tinted pond with some really picturesque, I think it's white birch trees that are in the water, and given the right conditions on the right day, the pond is just completely blue. Now, I've been there on days where it's gray, and what a disappointment. But the one time that I arrived there, and it was a vibrant, crisp, beautiful blue. I'm hoping today is going to be one of those days. As I drove the back roads of Biei, I spotted a ridge with a line of picturesque trees dotted along its edge. The backdrop was the Tokachi mountain range. In the low light of morning, it looked as though the clouds would give me enough of a view of the mountains to make an image with the trees in the midground and the mountains towering in the background. Unfortunately, the clouds only thickened, and I had to abandon this location, only to race to find a new location before the sun rose. I quickly drove down the road and made a few turns left and a right turn here, and I stumbled upon this iconic Biei tree dubbed the Christmas tree. And waited and waited. I've been waiting for the light and it didn't come yet. So I'm tempted to abandon ship and get a shot and cut my losses, but I don't know. My experience last night of cutting my losses and heading home before sunset really bit me in the butt because I missed out on such a spectacular sunset. I don't want to give up on this shot. But I know once the light hits that grass, those yellows and browns will really pop. So over on the ridgeline over to the right, I can see that the sun is hitting that ridge full on. So these clouds, you know, I'm doing a time lapse on the opposite end of the car. My tripod here is perched on top of my car, and the time lapse on the opposite side is capturing the movement of the clouds as they go across the sky, and just waiting. I can see it slowly coming across. When the light finally came, I was relieved my patience had paid off. Here we go. Whew. I got my shot. Was it worth it? I don't know. I don't know. It's pretty. It's pretty. It certainly is. For any truly discerning eyes out there, you'll have noticed that the setup and the image shown didn't quite match. That's because I drove away, and after I left I realized that I hadn't gotten the thumbnail shot that I wanted to get. So I drove back, set up again, and I realized that the composition was actually much better than the original composition that I took earlier. So there you have it. That second image is the image that I wound up showing you. Might as well be honest, right? So for this first image here, I think that we have a lot that we could talk about, but the three things that I'd like to focus on are texture, lines, and balance. So if we look at the image, we have a lot of horizontal lines from the field being plowed, or I guess from the crop being harvested. And the lines really lead the eye back and forth across the bottom half of the image. Now there's one really strong horizontal line going from left to right that leads the eye to the tree. The tree is the main focus or the point of this subject or of this photograph. I also have a lot of vertical lines on the hill that lead the eye straight to the back of the photo. Now I think if I had a blue sky, cloudless, that the eye would have just fallen off and gone off into nowhere. But luckily these clouds stop the eye from drifting away, and they lead the eye back over to the tree again. So the texture of the field, I think, really adds a nice element as well. It's very visceral. You can kind of feel and hear the crunchiness of the stalks that are left after the harvesting. It's a nice juxtaposition from the crunchy, hard earth and the soft, gentle sky. I think some of these elements, they really work together to give the image a nice balance. Right, so I just had a wipe down of all of my equipment. There was a lot of condensation because of the extreme temperature changes. So it was 14 degrees when I arrived. It's 21 now. But there was a thin layer of condensation all over my equipment, so I wiped that down. I'm tired, but I'm happy. And let's go exploring some more, shall we? After driving and roaming around for a couple of hours, and not finding something that I wanted to shoot, I decided to head to the blue pond that I mentioned earlier. These shots of the vibrant water were actually taken on my previous trip here. Today, unfortunately, was a bit dull and, dare I say, underwhelming. Since the cloud cover was diffusing the light, I thought it would be a good idea to focus on the reflections in the pond. I found a bush on a rocky outcrop with leaves that were already turning yellow and knew that this was the best subject for me to shoot in these conditions. It took about 15-20 minutes to find the right angle. What I was trying to keep out of the frame was as important as what I was keeping in. In the end, I was quite happy with the results. So I think this next image is my favorite of the entire trip. And there's so many elements that I think I got right in this image here. And so we have texture, lines, patterns, space, color, and tone. I really love this image. Now, we have 4 vertical lines going across the image, and generally in equal proportions. Whoever planted these trees knew that somebody was coming to take some photos because they're just perfectly aligned across the image here. Everything about this image, the tone and the colors, is just soft and calming and muted. And the texture of this lone log that's sticking out of the water here, it's so rough and crumbly and falling apart. It has a nice juxtaposition for me. I love the patterns of those logs. I love the tone and the color. Now, it's quite literal, but it is a point right here that draws the eye as well. So your eye can move freely around the image and then fall directly back onto this log and point. Hi. I drove to the top of Tokachi dake, the volcano, and since I wasn't equipped for a proper hike, I took a short walk up the trail and set up my camera, and capitalized on this geometric gift. Well, I think this is probably going to be my last shot of the day, and then I'm going to go and have an onsen, have a hot spring. So right here, this is as far as I'm going to go because I'm actually not prepared for a big hike. But I love the way that the clouds are kind of obscuring most of the top of the volcano. Unfortunately, my audio bugged out on me here, but what I was about to say was, because the cloud cover was so low, I was able to focus my lens just on the geometric lines of the mountain. And that was something unique that I haven't photographed before, so I was quite excited to capture this image. So for this last image here, I wanted to focus on the lines, texture, and color. So here we have some lines that are diagonal coming from the top right corner and intersecting with this hard line coming down from the foreground. So we have this ridge line of trees that intersects with 1, 2, 3 lines coming from the right-hand side of the image.
I really like the way that those lines intersected and contrasted with the different layers of green. So on the left-hand side, we have a nice, deep, rich green at the bottom of the frame. And then on the right-hand side, there was more direct sunlight hitting that slope right there. I like the color contrast throughout the image. We have some pale beige colors contrasted with some dark browns and reds and oranges, as well as that lush, deep green. One of the failings of this image, and I like the image, but I think there's an element that's missing, and that's a point. There's no clear subject matter to really hone in on. And while it's nice to look around the image and really enjoy the different textures and contrasts and colors and the intersecting lines, there's no one point of focus that can pull you in. So without a very clear subject, the eye just roams, and there's nowhere really to just land your eyes on and focus on that one image. I think it might be really good if I had some people like traversing this line right here, or if we could see somebody walking up here, maybe even a wild animal, something like that. Well, there we have it, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that in your photography, you're going to be able to think about some of these elements when you are composing your images. And I think that if you can combine some of these elements in your photography, that it's bound to take you to another level. Maybe in the comments, let me know what element of composition you find first. For me, it's always the light. And I'm intrigued by the process that other photographers go through when they are composing their images. What's that one thing that sparks your imagination or your creativity? What draws you in to want to make this an image? So thanks for joining me. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you next time.